Hey everyone, my name is Allie and welcome to my channel. So today, it's a little bit late. We're almost like a full week into August and I am finally filming my August wrap up. I don't have that many books to talk about and that's probably why I wasn't like super excited to film this video. I only have 4 books to talk about this month and I will say that I liked most of them. 3 out of 4 of the books I really enjoyed. There was one book that just like did not work for me and we will definitely talk about that. But yeah, August just wasn't like a super big reading month for me for some reason. It wasn't even that I felt like I was in a slump. I just felt like it's like the transition between summer and fall is always really hard for me and trying to figure out what I want to read, what the vibes are. And I felt like I just kept like picking up books and then not liking them pretty quickly, and then having to move on to something else. So I felt like that kind of wasted a lot of August for me. So that was a little unfortunate, but I did end up reading some pretty good books and I can't wait to talk about them with you. So we're just gonna jump right on in. I have my phone. So actually the first book that I read was a huge reread for me, and thankfully I own a copy of it so I can hold it up for you guys, and that is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. And I decided to reread this book because if you guys did not know, there is going to be a movie adaptation for this book. And actually during the month of August they were filming the adaptation and posting a lot about it on like Instagram stories and stuff like that, so it really inspired me to pick this book back up. And I just realized, like looking back at my stats and like when I read this for the first time, I actually read this for the first time in August of 2017. Basically like within days of when I reread it this year, which is just like blowing my mind that, 7 years later, I picked this book up at the exact same time of the year that I had read it at first. But yeah, like I said, I read this book for the first time about 7 years ago, and that was around the time when I had first started talking about books on my YouTube channel. And I immediately really loved this book, and I believe that it was like the first time I'd ever seen fat representation in literature, and I was just so excited and so happy. And this book definitely meant a lot to me because I could really relate to the main character. Basically, this book is about Molly. She is a teenager and she has had countless unrequited crushes in her life. She's very shy and reserved, but she is also kind of like a little bit of a hopeless romantic, and she falls in love pretty easily and gets crushes pretty easily, but she's never really felt confident enough to pursue any of those crushes. But she does have a twin sister who is kind of like the total opposite of her. She's very social and very like social butterfly and just out there, and there is that kind of like difference between them. But yeah, this is basically just kind of like a coming of age story about Molly finding her voice and her confidence and pursuing love in a more like overt way and in a more open way than she has before. And I really love this book so much. I love all the characters in this book. I cannot wait to see it come to life in a screen adaptation. And coming back to this book felt like just like having like a warm cozy day, and it was so beautiful and perfect. And this is definitely a book that, while I don't necessarily like feel as personally connected to it in like an immediate sense of like who I am now, I don't really know if I personally relate to it right now, but it just kind of reminded me of how I was like back at like 16, 17 years old. And so it means a lot to me. I'm glad that I picked it back up. I feel like it definitely still holds up. It's really funny, and I love this book and I cannot wait to see the movie. Also, I made an iced coffee and look at how beautiful it is. I just have to talk about it for a second because I basically just like, I have like the pre-made iced coffee. I use the Stoke brand, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And I just put like a little spoonful of brown sugar. I put a little bit of like pumpkin spice seasoning in there. I did a little bit of vanilla, and then I like shook it up all together and then put some soy milk in there, and it is so good. Not exactly like a pumpkin spice latte, but it is pretty good, and I am really enjoying it. I also have to say that today it is over 90 degrees, and so yeah, we're in a tube top. We are just like, you know, trying to stay cool, trying to leave like my lights off. We do not have air conditioning in this house. We are trying to stay as cool as possible. The next book that I ended up reading in August was The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava, and this is actually an adult romance and has some Indigenous Native American representation. I was so excited when I saw this in, I believe it was my August ALCs that were, you know, provided from Libro FM. I ended up giving The Truth According to Ember a 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved this book. It's kind of like a workplace romance, which I have found that I actually really enjoy workplace romances. I have read quite a few in the past couple of years. I never thought I would like this trope, but it's something that I find myself gravitating towards for some reason. It could be the fact that I just really love The Office. Like, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's a huge comfort show for me. I go back to it every single year. And so that could be where it stems from. And I think I just really love the idea of an office romance. There's something about it that I just think is really cute and romantic. Anyway, it's about this main character, and she is a young woman in her 20s, and she is really trying to get herself a really good job and sort of break the cycle of poverty. And so she ends up applying to like a bunch of jobs and kind of flubs her resume a little bit. She's not like super honest on her resume, which I absolutely condone doing. Like, why not? The job market is tough enough anyway. Go ahead and lie on your resume. Hot take here, but she ends up lying on her resume and gets a pretty good job at this company, and she has to just kind of like figure it out as she goes. But when she shows up at this company, it's like her first day, she ends up meeting this guy and kind of has like sort of like an instant attraction to him, and they end up kind of becoming friends, and then obviously it develops into more. There's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on in this book that I can't really talk fully about because I feel like it'd be a spoiler, but I really love this book. I felt like the chemistry between these two characters was incredible. I loved the male love interest so much. He just was like, he just has this like sort of aura about him. He just has this like confidence like not only just like as like an outgoing person, but like confidence in himself, which I love. And the way that he talks to the main character and like treats her and stuff, I just loved it. And I really loved the main character herself. She was just so funny. She reminded me a lot of myself in ways, like especially in the way that like I have been in my other jobs that I've had. She definitely reminds me of myself. I feel like I'm always the type of person that's like just learning as I go along. And I really loved this book. I loved getting to see Native American Indigenous representation in romance specifically, because I was just like, I've been looking for one for so long, and I know that they're out there, but like it's kind of hard, you know, having all the stars align to where like it's available from my library, or it's available from Libby or Hoopla or Libro FM or whatever. So like thankfully all the stars aligned perfectly, and I got to read this book a little bit early, and I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and I highly recommend it if you want to check out like a workplace romance book. The third book that I read in August is the one that I just have a lot of complicated and not super positive feelings towards, and that is The Guest by Emma Cline. I didn't actually end up reading this book because if you have been watching my videos for the past, what, year or so, I kind of stopped rating books that would be a 3 stars or below, and this book was not rated by me, if that tells you anything. I just didn't connect with this book in the way that I thought I was going to. This book was kind of like continuously recommended to me from a lot of people. It was kind of described as a book with like an unlikable female character. She, you know, a young woman in her 20s, kind of like doing morally gray things, and that is the type of book that is just right up my alley. I love those kind of books. I love that kind of literary fiction. One of my favorite books of all time is My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and I love that book. I love the exploration of extremely unlikable female characters. I think it's really intriguing. However, with this book, I felt like the main character just lacked a lot of personality, and she just kind of felt like a little Sims avatar that was going along throughout this book and was just kind of like a puppet on a string. You know what I mean? Like, there was just nothing to her. There was no substance. There's no personality. She felt very hollow, like not grounded in a realistic character. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really feel like she had like a lot of backstory. I felt like she didn't really have a lot of like defining qualities. And I hate to do the thing where like I compare it to a book that I actually do love, which is obviously going to be My Year of Rest and Relaxation. But like, at least with that main character, she had a personality, she had a backstory, she had defining characteristics. This main character, I could not tell you a single thing about her besides her name was Alex, and the only reason I remember her name being Alex is because I used to go by Alex, so that's the only thing I remember about her. She was so forgettable. I just couldn't care about her, and that's something that like needs to happen in order for me to be invested in a character's journey, in their plot, in their character arc, etc. Like, if that's not happening, it's not gonna work for me. And at the end of the day, I just felt like a lot of the things that she did weren't even all that morally gray and didn't really make for a good unlikable female character, if I'm being honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she didn't go far enough. She just kind of like was so unimaginatively and boringly apathetic in a way. She just wasn't working for me, personally. I know a lot of people love this book. I know that it's a favorite of so many people, and totally respect that. I think that's great. Maybe you saw something in it that I personally didn't. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm the problem. But it just didn't work for me. As a lover of unlikable female characters, wasn't my jam. I did appreciate though that it was set on Long Island. I've been there. I know what it's like. And that was a lot of fun. That was probably the best part of the book. And the very last book that I read in the month of August was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This was my first ever Abby Jimenez book, and I think this might have been my favorite of the month. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was so incredible. I cannot tell you how much I love this book. If you are one of my close friends and you follow me on my private Twitter account, you will see my absolute meltdown over this book. It made me both believe in love and also believe deep within my soul that I will never have a love like this. So I'm mentally well. Yeah, this book made me feel mentally well. Basically, this is also another sort of like workplace romance book, and the two main characters kind of start off as a little bit of like enemies, but it's mostly like a miscommunication based enemies, so I don't really count it as enemies to lovers or anything like that. But these two main characters, they work at a hospital, and they at first kind of get off on the wrong foot, but they end up spending more time together because they strike up a deal to do this like fake dating thing. The male main character is trying to get over his ex, and the fact that his ex kind of moved on with his brother, like, that's crazy. In order to convince his family that he's okay and like to stop worrying about him, he enlists the help of his coworker in order to like do this fake dating thing. And if you know me, you know how much I love the fake dating trope. So there's a lot of things going on at play in this book that just really worked for me, and that is so Ally coded. I just ended up loving it so much. I will say though, like, obvious like content warning for like medicine stuff, hospitals. The female main character's brother needs, I believe, a kidney transplant, and so definite content warnings for all those things. But I loved this book so much. I really truly didn't think that I would love a book that was like partly set in a hospital, mainly because like I don't know, it's just like not for me. I don't usually even watch like hospital shows, so I didn't think that I was gonna enjoy it as much as I did, but I loved it. And like the chemistry, the romance, it was so beautiful. And this male main character, everything I could ever wish for. He is just so important to me and so special to me. He was definitely giving very like Gus from Beach Read or Henry from The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Definitely like my favorite male main character love interest archetype. I loved him so much. Do those people exist in real life? Because I need one of them, honestly, truly. And yeah, I really loved this romance. Probably one of my favorites of the year. It just really, it got me deep. It got me really deep. I can't wait to read more Abby Jimenez books. I know that a lot of people love this one. We'll see what happens. I do have one of her books physically. I believe it's Life's Too Short, but I've never picked it up. I don't know why. I don't know why I haven't picked it up. I just haven't. But hopefully sometime soon I will definitely get to it. Okay, so that was my entire August wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have been reading a little bit for September, so we already have some books that are like I'm gonna get ready to talk about at the end of this month. We also have the Latinx Book Bingo Readathon coming up. I actually don't know if we're doing that this year. I will have to check in with some of my friends who run it, but if that is going on, I'm super excited. Either way, it will be Latino Heritage Month from the middle of September till the middle of October, so definitely get ready for that, just to give you guys a heads up. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Also go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, Storygraph, TikTok. All the links are down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!